Let me read the proclamation. Whereas Black Warrior Solid Waste Authority is an organization in Alabama that focuses on managing solid waste in the region. And whereas BWSWA is responsible for coordinating waste disposal and recycling efforts, as well as promoting environmental sustainability. And whereas BWSWA focuses on the operation and management of landfills while also educating the public about waste reduction and recycling. And whereas BWSWA has a hard-working team comprised of support staff, consultants, employees, as well as Executive Director Fred Rogers. And whereas this team has received a prestigious award from Solid Waste Association of North America, being named #1 Subtitle D landfill in the state of Alabama. And whereas this award speaks volumes about the dedication and commitment of Black Warrior Solid Waste Authority in providing a vital public service to our community. Now therefore, I, John Hinton, by the authority vested in me as mayor of the city of Northport, Alabama, do hereby recognize Black Warrior Solid Waste Authority on this outstanding accomplishment. In witness whereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the city of Northport to be affixed this 28th day of November, 2023, signed John Hinton, Mayor. I think we need to congratulate him on his time. Would someone in the group like to respond and make any comments? You're welcome to at this time.
Anyone but Bob. I said anyone but Bob.
Yes, sir. Come on, you might know the lawyer. Hey, wait, the politician.
I just want to say, given my career in the public service, the Solid Waste Authority is a profound and enduring example of what intergovernmental cooperation can do in the public service for this community and any community, because it's that garbage has to be buried and covered every day. And people forget where it goes and how it is dealt with every day. And all you need to do is see that landfill on fire in St. Clair County to understand what an important service this is and what these people do for us every day. And it has been my pleasure to serve on the board with Bob Lewis as our chairman and the other members of the board. Thank you.
I know Representative Lamb would like to make a few comments.
Well, first of all, I want to thank y'all for having us and honoring this board with this presentation. But the key to the whole thing is these guys right here. They do the job, and they've done it for years. And I don't think you can find another example of intergovernmental cooperation that exceeds this. I've been around a long time working with county and Northport and the city, and I don't think there's any other organization that works so smooth. And it doesn't happen automatically, and it goes, these three guys right here make it happen. And I'd also say that about our chairman, Bob. He is a perfect chairman, and you're lucky to have him as your representative on the board. And again, thank you for having us here, and we appreciate it. Thank you.
Mayor, can we get everybody together on this side, lined up behind you after all the comments so that Mr. Bose can do one photo of everybody?
Just come up here behind us. Picture.
Thank y'all.
Thank you. That is a very high honor, and we do appreciate all of the work that you do behind the scenes for all the different governmental entities. Our next presentation is River Run Park presentation.
I think Mr. Summers is going to introduce the team.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right. Do I have to give my address? I'm Frank Summers with TTL, and I'm going to introduce the design team. I know this has been going on for some time, 2022, late 2022, early 2023, and now, you know, we've got really a lot to look at, I think, to be excited about as a community. So our lead architect for the project is Chambliss Kings Architect. The city went through an RFP process and chose their firm, and they're led by Mike Shows. And then as a part of their team, our landscape architect group is Dix Height and led by Ryan Collins. And and so with this group, and we have some other sub-consultants as well, we've kind of started the design process of what is now named River Run Park. I know for some time we were holding it as the Warrior Sports and Recreation Complex, but now that the city's gone through a lot of their branding and y'all have actually chosen a name. So I'm just going to do a brief overview and kind of get out of their way, because I think what they're going to show y'all is what y'all really want to sink your teeth into and see as far as the details. So the area in general, the city council and staff had tasked TTL with taking an amount of property, and I'm going to skip ahead really quickly to this area map here. The project site in general is just north of the Black Warrior River. It's adjacent to Kentuck Park, where we have our annual Kentuck Festival, as well as Warrior Baseball, which is a very well-renowned local league in the South. And it's also, there's a lot of history here associated with baseball and some softball. And so it's uniquely positioned near the downtown area, the Levee Trail. There's really a lot kind of going on here. You've got some really good views of the river and trestle. I'm going to skip ahead to this master plan. So a lot of people don't know, but the council, staff, and the city recognize that, hey, we own quite a bit of property along the Black Warrior River, and would really like to activate that and have things for families to do and have things for out-of-town guests to come do. And so TTL was asked to kind of just master plan in terms of a use plan. What can we fit here? This is kind of what we would like to do. And so we early in late 2022, early 2023, developed kind of a master plan. Now this master plan is more refined since the design team has been assembled. The city has assembled the design team. But I think one thing to keep in mind is all the property is property the city owns. And or is having shared use agreements with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. So you're really in a position where you really didn't spend any money to purchase what you have. I mean, this is land the city already had. So keep that in mind as we go through the presentation. So there's a lot going on in this as far as various type of recreational facilities. The one facility that we've been tasked to design, kind of zoom in a little more on the master plan here. The master plan that I just transitioned from is actually 300 acres. So the city has just over 300 acres of property that they can activate for use of the community, tourism, visitors. What's called River Run Park is a portion of a district called Northport Shore. And so Northport Shore is this larger area, and then within that, you can see where Warrior Baseball is, up would be to your upper right, and then the complex we've been tasked to design first, and that's River Run Park. So this is a portion inside of the larger, just like Warrior Baseball at Northport Shore, Kentuck Park at Northport Shore. So our presentation is going to focus on this today. one thing we wanted to kind of touch on is, again, what probably was just, if we back to here, what probably was a need that the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers at the time, they just needed somewhere to build a lock and dam and dump dirt. And they happened to dump dirt exactly where you see this tan area here. And so it's 35 feet higher than the river and then everything around it. And it just so happens that it fits just right for River Run Park. So this tournament facility has been positioned on top of this, what was once property, just, hey, we need property to build a lock and dam. The city has kind of looked forward and said, well, what can we build there that would activate the area and kind of the community? So I don't want to kind of be in anybody else's way as far as just an overview. And so the design team's really kind of going to take you into a very detailed, they can flip back to the agenda and then really take you inside of what this River Run part looks like. But I appreciate the opportunity to be here and work for the city of Northport.
Awesome. Thank you, Frank. Again, my name is Mike Schaus. I'm with Chambliss King Architects. It's a pleasure to meet everybody. Thank you for having us here. Just to lay the foundation of what we're going to talk about, I can't stress what a pleasure it's been to come into the city, work with the staff, and Frank as well with TTL. He's a great representative of the design team when we're not here. And you really lay the foundation for a capital improvements project this is such a large undertaking that with the right team and the right vision, they're all hard. And I think everybody that's been a part of a big project knows that, but you can't do it if you don't have a team like this. So I just want to express our appreciation on behalf of Chambliss King Architects for selecting us and inviting us in. So hopefully as we go through these slides, you will, I know the council has seen a lot of what we're showing, if not all of it. So hopefully I can add some color to the decisions and our thought processes. And then I think we can have, and I'll start with about half the slides, and then Ryan Collins with Dix Height will finish up. This is just a bird's eye view of those 9 ball fields that Frank was just looking at from an overall perspective. Frank, I like that you said it fit perfectly where the landfill was, because it shocks me every time when I look at how the ball fields fit in that shape. And there was a lot of massaging that took place, but we feel like we're really happy with the organization of the fields. Just to orient everybody to the program, you're looking at 9 athletic fields. 2 of them are our signature fields, baseball and softball. With a signature field comes a concession building, grandstands, and kind of just an elevated experience. And then the other 7 fields, you have kind of a more traditional dugout bleacher setup. On the south side, we're calling it, you've got the main entry, and then you split between the signature softball and signature baseball. And then on the north entry, you have, it's called this kind of north concessions area, but it's really just an area with a covered pavilion for concessions and restrooms. And both entries are intended to just establish some sense of arrival, because you're coming into a large area. I mean, the size of a baseball field, you can imagine we're covering a lot of distance. So there's a lot of concepts within the park that we hope to come through as we talk more about it. If I zoom into that lower left-hand portion, these are the kind of 2 signature fields. And one thing you're going to notice is kind of a pedestrian bridge element that is somewhat iconic, or we hope that it is an Instagram-worthy moment, right, where it just kind of puts you on the map, and it's something that becomes a mark of the fields and immediately connects you with a place. If this is about sports, and it's about connecting Northport with these sports, and I think walking into the site, as Frank mentioned, and walking into the vision that y'all have, this has been a pleasure to just add more and more value to that in the design of the architecture and the landscapes. Again, you've got the signature baseball, softball on both sides, the bridge component. There's some plaza spaces that Dix Height will kind of cover later. It takes a lot of planning and organizing to do something with all the space in between the fields. So we'll talk about that a little bit later. This is the north end, bird's eye of that kind of concession pavilion. I'm going to dive more into the architecture later, but I'm just trying to orient you to what's happening on the north and south ends. Let me back up to before we had any of this architecture, with just a couple case studies. I won't talk about them for too long, but it's hard to do a baseball park. It's hard to talk about baseball, the history of baseball, if you don't talk about Fenway Park. I know we're not in Boston, but there's the capturing the spirit of baseball is something that you have to think about when you're building this many fields and you're doing it for youth who will absolutely have asked to go to Fenway Park as kids. So it's not a question of what do you take from something like this. It's just keeping it on the table and just knowing there's something to capture that's important, whether it's just the feeling and the scale of a place like that, whether it's the colors and some of the shapes of the spaces. And then the other, this is kind of near where I'm from, but just having places to gather and what are you going to do with a space when you're not playing ball. So it's more than just, it's for players and it's for fans. There's a couple concepts I want to introduce. In talking about this park, we kept coming back to over and over this park being rooted in nature and rooted in history. Part of that is my introduction to Northport. I took a few photos. None of this is new to y'all, so I don't have to explain the photos, but this is special to someone who hasn't been here. When I came here for the first time, these are kind of the things we were drawn to from a material perspective. Just a lot of iconic imagery in terms of the steel and the trusses and the materials. And so, again, not knowing what to do with it yet, you just know this is a mark of Northport. This is around me. This is what you have in your natural landscape. So let's consider that before we just go build a park. And then I love some of these kind of sweeping horizontal views of the lock and dam, the trestle bridge, and obviously that shot of Kentuck right there. There's kind of the historical context of Northport, and then there's a modern context of nature, about introducing something that's foreign, like a park, into the nature. So these are just inspiration images of how do you begin to kind of mesh those two. How do you keep and respond to the nature and respect it, but introduce kind of fun, playful pieces of architecture in a modern way? And so these are just, again, this is just inspiration. It's hard to talk about the same subject. You got to talk about Fenway Park and also here close to us, Rickwood Field. So there's, if you've had a chance to go to Rickwood Field, you want to go when it's quiet and there's no one in it, and it's kind of a field of dreams moment. So I think there's a lot to be taken from these and going, where do we go from here? One of the things that we took as a design team away from these case studies are the words are kind of listed up there, and I'll kind of go from left to right. There's the canopy, the kind of feeling of shade, delicate steel. It's nice to think about the history of the architecture and know that it used to be built out of angle iron and welded together before you had large, massive steel shapes. And then there's kind of the honest materials, we're calling it, just being clear with your material choices, and that we kind of recognize when you're seeing and feeling real materials. And then kind of a classic color palette. I think the team's already been through the River Run Park branding exercise and come out with a lot of classic colors and a classic direction for that, which is built into this as well. And then the history of how do we just respond to some of that iconic branding and graphic design. When it comes to the park design, I know River Run Park has been voted on, and we've kind of approved the branding piece of that. And to have a successful project like this really is to vertically design it from branding to architecture to landscape and get all of it as a complete experience for it to be successful. And I feel like we're on our way to do that. I hope it's visible in some of the architecture that we've done to date, and some of the branding that y'all have approved. Certainly a classic mark that sets a tone for what we're doing. I just wanted to flash this as we go now through some renderings of the park that we've got. And just a reminder that a lot of this color palette in the branding shows up in the architecture and will show up also in some of the branding on the architecture. So back to our 9 fields. This is our kind of bridge design moment. This is on axis with the main entry. So anytime you interact with this park, you will not be able to avoid this pedestrian bridge that goes between the signature baseball and signature softball and has Northport branding over the top of it. And this is, we have to move people from point A to point B, but also take advantage of these kind of classic moments, and introducing a walkway between the two seemed appropriate. And obviously you can recognize some of the kind of nod to bridge design at the same time. This is just this picture is kind of important to us because, again, I want it to acknowledge that it's got some roots here, that it's got obviously a classic look. We're trying to use wood. We're trying to bring in those classic colors. When you get to the landscapes, we want to be respectful with the landscapes, playful, purposeful in ways that everything kind of has a purpose. And then the bridge, you'll see, is just, we're trying to do a couple things and just keep it delicate, and as opposed to something that's kind of too heavy-handed, that's more of a human scale. We're not taking bridges across this, we're taking people across it. So that's kind of an important human scale element there. Again, some of the branding showing up, all the green siding that you're seeing, that's kind of a classic proportion where we're trying to use green wood. In some cases, it'll be real wood. In some cases, it'll be kind of a more composite wood, depending on the application. Again, just taking you through some of these moments where you interact with the building and landscape and the architecture. This is kind of where branding and architecture collapse in kind of a classic scenario. Where we can really see this building serving as signage and wayfinding for the park. Up on the north side, the south side obviously has the two signature fields, but we want to respect that there's a north entrance. You're going to have a lot of people coming in both, so we want to make sure that it has a sense of arrival as well. This is more of a pavilion, big shade covering, restrooms, concessions, and again, it has its own character and value there, where we're just trying to cast a lot of shade, provide restrooms, and a place to pause before going to the field. So you'll see a lot of shade around the restrooms and places for people to gather. Again, another kind of fun branding moment where we try to go big with the branding. You see a lot of painted brick, painted wood. And again, coming back to an image like this, I think when you visit Northport, you hope they leave with a photo like this, where we've kind of prescribed a way that they can remember this experience for themselves. I think that's my last slide. I'm going to invite Ryan Collins with Excite to kind of take us through the landscape architecture.
Thank you, Council, Mayor. Appreciate the opportunity to be here tonight. As Mike said, it's a really fun team to work with, the city staff. Frank, it has been really an example of what passion brings to a team. I don't think I've ever been a part of a project team that knew the mission very clearly, and the mission was placed above the individual. I know that we talk about that a lot with football in Alabama, but this team, I think it really exemplifies that team before me concept. So hopefully you'll see the integration of everything from what Frank brings to the table. He mentioned that everything fit just perfectly. I think that's a testament to his knowledge of the land and his knowledge of the site and his hand in guiding the team safely through that negotiation of what the layout was going to be like, so that it would be something that felt like it fit there naturally and perfectly. I want to dive into the function of these spaces within the park. So we're not going to show a landscape plan tonight. We're really going to start with a functional diagram to talk about how the space is organized, how the space will be used, because that's where the design team started thinking about this project and all of these spaces in between the fields where all of the life happens within the park, really. This is where the moms and the toddlers and the strollers and the lunches and all of those things, the playing, all that stuff happens here within this area. So we organized it thinking about all of those individual users and how their needs are going to be met by the park. So let's start with the bottom of the list there with the team. At each outfield corner, we're going to have team space for warming up. So that means the home team and the away team will have their own space for warming up. That'll be coupled with batting cages and a bullpen area So all of the warm-up activity happens at each field at the ends of the outfields and the corners there. Then backing up a little bit, you're going to see sprinkled throughout the park, I should say, let me go to the top of the list. You can see that kind of medium red wine color. That's all the architecture. So you can start to get a feel for how the architecture fits within the space, as Mike showed you all the 3D images. And then the batting cages are that light brown color, and the team is the kind of the teal green color. Then we back up from there into those spaces that are lawn spaces. These are going to be flexible areas where you can have a tent, you can have a little playtime, you can have a little slope to lay down on. So this is picnic, this is relaxing, this is a lot of things that need to happen within the park that aren't baseball. Then we have the shade. Shade is a crucial element of the park. We know this, and we know the trees, when they go in, they're not going to be big enough to provide all the shade that we want. So we're going to augment all of those trees with shade sails, fabric shades. We've got those located throughout the park to provide multiple opportunities to provide that shade that people are really looking for. Then we have the planting areas. That's the darkest green, and you can see we're using the planting to shape the experiences of the spaces, to really frame the views and really frame those spaces so that they feel like individual areas within the park. The white that you see in the middle is all of the circulation. That's all of the hardscape. So how that's organized, you saw probably a little bit better on the 3D images, but we're thinking of this as a linear park within the fields, between the fields. So it's a pedestrian street almost. And you move through this street, and all of the field hubs are like the buildings within the street or on the streetscape. So we move through the street, and we come to different areas with different programming. We'll get into that programming a little bit, but right now I want to focus on the light brown. That's the play. One of the things that we want to have interspersed throughout the entire park are play experiences and play opportunities. This should be about not a big playground, a big signature playground, but smaller playgrounds that are nestled within the landscape, and you'll see a little bit of how we're trying to accomplish that later. So a little bit of an enlargement here on the south entry where we have the Champions Plaza, and you can see that you're moving into this space from the parking lot through a central walkway that runs in between the grandstands. The bridge is about halfway through there along the buildings for the signature baseball and signature softball. Then you move into the Champions Plaza, which is the central hub of the arrival experience from the south end. And we're thinking of that as shaped like a baseball diamond. Perhaps there's a bronze inlay, an opportunity to create some sponsorship for the park or memorial for the park. But this is an organizing space that everybody knows where this spot is. If you need to meet up, you're meeting at the Diamond or at Champions Plaza. And we'll talk about a little bit more about some of the character of these spaces later on in the presentation. But for this point, I want to just show that we're moving through this space on these very long runs, but we're moving through not in a flat plane. We're moving up and down through this space to create opportunities for vistas to each of the fields, back over to the river. As you can see on the larger plan, the river is to our left here on this sheet. So the axis that runs from between the two championship fields is pointing you back at the river. And we're thinking that's an opportunity for an overlook. Back to the master plan, we are looking at this entire river frontage as one linear green space that provides an opportunity for a walking trail or a frontage for some future development, but it also is this main entry into the park. And so that relationship between the river and the heart of the park is very important. So once you're in, if you're on that bridge that Mike was showing you just a second ago, looking back out, you're going to get a great view of the river. And then moving to the to the north entrance, you're going to have the main concessions hub, softball fields here arranged. And then in the center of the space, this is going to be another hub for play and landscape and a little bit what we're not really talking about today is some of the access control, but we've got the fields divided and arranged so that there could be two different events. You could have a softball event and then have part of the park closed, or you could have a baseball event, have a part of the park closed. And this central area here serves as the hub or the joint between those two spaces. So the promenade is this linear park space. This is some of the character that we're looking for here. This is a, it's a lively, fun experience to move through the park. We have a lot of different places to sit, a lot of different seating options, places to program with social games, places to program for eating. This is going to be where a lot of the activity between games is happening, the flow of the pedestrians and people through the space. The play areas, there's going to be a lot of variety to the play areas. So we're looking at taking advantage of the topography. We're looking at really relating back to some of the materials that you would find along the river, like the pilings inspired there in the lower left image. We are looking at the river as an inspiration to the forms, with the landforms, with the sinuous pathways and the topography. We're looking at water for inspiration in the top center image there, where we know that there's opportunities within this park for, to collect drainage and work with the drainage. So water becomes a really important element. If, you're on the riverfront, you want to have the relationship to the river. Water is a key part of that. Shade, as I mentioned, extremely important. We're looking at multiple ways to provide shade, multiple locations to provide shade. We know that the trees are going to go in small, but they're going to get big, and they're going to eventually provide all of that shade that we need. But on day one, we want to make sure that there's still shade. So we're working shade canopies in using tencel fabric, shade fabric, and we'll nestle those into different spaces within the trees so that as time passes, the trees grow, the need for those fabrics lessens, and some of them could eventually even be removed. Seating, again, it's about creating multiple opportunities, plenty of places to sit, different types of seating. Sometimes you're going to be there for a while. Sometimes you're just going to be there for a minute or two. So we want to make sure that we've got places for a team to sit down and have a meal together. So we've got long tables. We've got a place for a mom to sit down and the toddler can climb around and play. This is like in the bottom center there, you can see it's like a combination of a little play area and a seating area. And then we might have some places where you can sit and stay for a long time in the shade because you're waiting on a game to finish up. One of the other elements that we'd like to work in is we know that there's going to be a lot of kids here that are looking for stuff to do. They're going to have softballs. They're going to have baseballs. They're going to be looking for maybe a little side game. So we're looking at opportunities to create places within the hardscape, on the architecture, to just have a spontaneous little game of snakes and ladders there, or hopscotch. We're going to work in places to sit and relax that are social spaces, like the swings. The seesaws are a great way to have a sitting area and a playing area. And then in the top right, one of the ideas that you'll see a little bit later is working in some of the ideas from the history of the site, the history of baseball, working that through all the elements within the park. Now, this is a little bit more about the character of these spaces. We are looking at the overlook area. That would be the far left side of the sheet down towards the bottom left corner. We're calling that the Eagle's Nest. You move away from the river and into the park through Champions Plaza. To the left of Champions Plaza, towards the top left of the sheet there, you've got the Canebrake landscape. And then towards the center, you've got the Black Warrior River. And then the area right there, the hub that I was speaking of, where the softball and the baseball are kind of connected in the joint there, that's the Alabama Wetlands. And then moving to the far right, that would be the Legacy Plaza. So I'll explain a little bit more about the inspiration behind these ideas and how these are the pieces of the park that are going to really tie people to that sense of place, that they're in Northport. This is a unique experience. It's a unique setting. So we're inspired in the Champions Plaza, as Mike has already shown you, by the Trestle Bridge. It's an iconic piece. It really is something that you can see from the park and is influencing the shapes and the materials in that area. We look to places like public squares where there are big areas of hardscape and simple, clean landscapes that have changing color throughout the seasons, and simple geometry to reinforce this connection to baseball. Baseball is a sport of lines, right? So we want to bring that into the hardscape as well. So you'll see in the hardscape design, we followed a lot of those same angles that you see on a baseball field. The components for this site are going to, or this part of the site are going to be shade tree alleys, ornamental grasses that you would find along the natural Northport River, Black Warrior River landscape, switchgrass, muley grass. I've already mentioned the inlay for the bronze baselines and the plate. We love the terraceo bench. That is a very stately, refined, but it's a large bench that a lot of, a group can sit on together. And then we're looking at gabions as a way to bring in some of the natural materials that you'd find along the river and express those in a slightly more architectural fashion. In the canebrake zone, love this image top left of Northport canebrake landscape. This is a river cane that is native to the area, but what I love about that image is that it evokes a sense of mystery and fun and playfulness, but it also, to me, makes me think a little bit about the architectural pieces in all of the trusses and the structure that Mike showed from Rickwood Field. So I feel like there's a natural relationship to the architecture there that's pretty interesting. Maggie Daly Park has a great immersive experience where you can see that the kids are, nestled, the play areas are nestled into this natural landscape. And so that's our vision for what the canebrake play area is going to be. Native river cane, oaks. We're going to use the stormwater collection opportunities to create small places for, a little bit of rain garden type situations where you have a pitcher plant. We really love, and I'll show you more detail about the play structures later, but we really love the Robinia natural wood look, and the Palisade play structures and the Earthscapes Mokoyama are really fun and imaginative pieces that feel organic and natural. And then Sweet Bay Magnolia is just a beautiful tree that gives you a lot of interest year round, and it's really a great tree for these types of settings. Along, kind of centrally located in the park, we've got the Black Warrior River Zone, and we're inspired there by the river itself and the kind of the industry of the river, the barge traffic, and we look to Stadium Park over there in Perth that provides the opportunity for visitors to get in touch with the river itself. And so we know we're not going to be bringing people down to the river, but we can recreate a little bit of that experience within the park and give them that connection that they're looking for when they're down off the river there. So we've got river birch, river oats, oak leaf hydrangea. We're going to be incorporating this group seesaw idea, which I think really is inspired by the barge form. And the log pile, there's a lot of different opportunities to bring in play structures that are inspired by just simply piling logs and creating different climbing experiences and play experiences there that are obviously inspired by driftwood or the logging traffic on the river. In the wetland zone, Alabama is blessed with beautiful natural landscapes and a lot of wetland areas, and the wetlands are key to creating the successful health of the ecosystem. So we want to tell that story here because we know that there are wetlands in this area that are important to the river. So we can incorporate that into the play areas and bring water into those play areas, not standing water, but water that's going to be, after it rains, there'll be water there that will dry up, and it gives you the opportunity to tell that story about the wetland and the ecology. Plants like the bald cypress, grama grass, coneflower, these are things that you would find in Alabama wetlands. We like the stepper clusters, and the Ecstasy bench is like a lily pad. You can jump from bench to bench. And then the giant rope swing. All of these things help us tell that story about the wetlands and how, kind of the, not just the ecological side of it, but the beauty of it and the fun of it as well. In the Legacy Plaza, this is an opportunity to really focus on the history of Northport and the connection of baseball to Northport and to this park. The opportunity here we have is this continuum of baseball, which has, a really well-established history in the country and in the Southeast. And so we're inspired by places like the medical campus there in Buffalo, where the integration of planting and hardscape and the different materials all really work seamlessly with the architecture. So we're looking at sugar maple, again, grama grass and coreopsis. But, we're not going to bring in actual yellow jackets, so we'd love to find the opportunity to bring in a physical representation of this yellow jacket in a play element. And so there's a great company that creates these custom wooden play elements that could be inspired by those different team mascots like the Yellow Jackets. Again, we talked about the forum benches by Vester. Those are great opportunities to create team seating areas. We want, a lot of times you'll find small tables where the teams are all split up amongst tables. We want to create some opportunities for community where it feels like everybody can gather together. And I mentioned this already, but the stepping stones that you see there are just some random words, but legendary players or Northport sports figures, those things can be incorporated into the elements like the Legacy Plaza. Plants, again, these are native trees to Alabama. We want to be representative of the native landscape. There's a lot of ecological reasons to do that I won't really get into, but the practical reason is these trees are readily available. These trees will grow well here, and they don't require a lot of maintenance and irrigation once they're established. Shrubs, very similar. Native shrubs, we look to beautyberry for really, one of the things that we want to do is we want to attract butterflies and birds because that kind of life within the park, kids that aren't playing baseball are going to be interested in that too. That's part of the story of the native landscape. So we want to make sure that the plants that we bring in are not only hardy and maintenance friendly, but they're also contributing to the overall ecology as well. The same thing with grasses. We use a lot of ornamental grasses. Again, very maintenance friendly. They provide cover. They provide nesting material. They're just really, they don't provide the fruit and everything that the shrubs do, but they do provide, use for the native ecology as well. And then perennials, we don't go overboard with the perennials, but we do like to include some native perennials for, again, telling the story of the native landscape, bringing in pollinators like butterflies, and then providing that seasonal interest to the park. People are going to be here at different times of the year, and different plants are going to be on show. I mentioned the inspiration for the play areas. This is a natural, we're thinking, again, a natural, organic theme to the play. So the mokuyamas, they remind us of the pilings. The log piles, I think that's fairly obvious, driftwood and the logging industry. The stepper clusters, again, remind us of the piles. These are flexible, imaginative play pieces. They're not telling you what to do when you go here. It's more about the adventure of figuring out what you want to do when you come to these play areas. And the standing seesaw, that's one of our favorites because, again, it's a really great opportunity to remind people about the barge use of the river. Then with the furniture, we're thinking about some very limited pieces. The trapecio bench, again, is very elegant, long form bench. The Vester Forum is going to provide those opportunities for group seating. The landscape forms, we're picturing the high density plastic, but we're really thinking about using the precast concrete version of this. We do have some grade change within the park, so we're going to have some retaining walls. We'll be providing some wooden seating tops there. The landscape forms, lakeside grass, again, bringing in some of that river landscape material into the expression of the site furnishings. And then the Victor Stanley bike rack there, that's a flexible bike rack. You can have one or you can have 5 in a row, so we'll have those strategically placed around the park. And I hope that was enough to give you guys a bit of the flavor of what the landscape and hardscape is going to be like in the park. And I'd like to bring Mike back up, and we're happy to answer questions. Yeah.
I want to give Frank Summers just a couple minutes to elaborate a little bit more on the design of the athletic fields and kind of what went into sizing and placement of those. And then, Frank, when you're done, I can just kind of finish up with a few more comments.
So hopefully you saw from everything that they've talked about, this really is a park within a park. Obviously for tournament facilities, and that's what I'm going to touch on. I'm going to flash back to the master plan. This will work here. So kind of one of the asks of the city is how do we maximize our land? It'd be just a tremendous benefit for us locally. A lot of our local play. This is one of the concerns was, what about Warrior Park? And on the master plan, you could see that Warrior Park will continue to exist. One of the things we found when you look at other communities, and I apologize for flipping through this so fast. One of the things we found, that's Warrior Park is actually located in your upper right there. That's a master plan, obviously, of how to reconstruct that eventually one day. But a lot of communities have kind of cannibalized the property that they've owned with their local parks and turned them into tournament parks. And one of the things the city, I think, was really wise about, as y'all allowed us to look at this, was we don't want to cannibalize our local play. What we want to do is continue to have local play. Baseball, softball is very underserved locally. A lot of our folks have to travel quite a bit for our girls. But we can maintain our local play and yet then have tournament facilities. It could be used for local play. We have a tremendous number of middle schools here that the tournament park could easily host large tournaments for those. So when you think about, well, what do I have from an athletic facility standpoint, you have 5 fields that are 225 feet. So girls softball all the way through the college age is 200 feet. Boys baseball can go all the way up. 12-year-olds play on 225. So then you have 4 fields that are all of these. One of the asks that the staff, the city had was we want to be flexible. We want to be able to invite a lot of people to the area and our local be able to use as far as age ranges. The baseball fields are designed to accommodate ASHAA high school through high school. The signature field actually can support NCAA rules as far as the dimensional play. So in essence, the city could choose to host anywhere from 5-year-old, 4-year-old baseball all the way through college if they chose to. The fields that you have shown on the that we have shown on the tournament part are all artificial turf. A lot of the landscape that Ryan walked us through that's quite a bit of area between the athletic facilities. I've got a family of 3, and typically we only have 1 playing. And so the other 2 is just a constant, they're trying to get your attention and you can't really focus on the one that's playing, but they also don't have a lot of opportunities. But I think a lot of what they have shown gives a lot of opportunities for those siblings when you're going to spend the bulk of, or we hope as a community that if people come, they'll spend their entire weekend or in the summertime, maybe an entire week at some of these tournament type games. So as far as facilities, again, you have 5 fields that are 225, and then you have 4 fields that are designed for baseball all the way up through high school, American Legion, and college if that was something that you chose to pursue. All of the fields are flexible as far as bases can be moved in. You could put younger kids on even the larger fields if you chose to. There are gameplay fencing that would be brought in that would be established. A lot of times with the girls, 225 is a little far, and so you can bring the fencing in, and this is very nice fencing. It's crash proof in case they run into it. And then as they mentioned, there's also fencing set up. If you look about in the middle of the park, Ryan had touched on this a little bit, you have a natural hub that stored fencing can be brought in to actually divide the park. So if you chose to only operate 4 or 5 smaller fields or 4 fields versus the entire complex, then it would allow you to start closing the complex down as you move towards championship games and people pack up, start going home. And so it allows you from a maintenance standpoint to get ahead and go ahead and start cleaning up kind of as you rotate out. The master plan we updated and is on the city's website. There's a lot of extra amenities. The city really wanted to activate the whole area. There's activity buildings reflected. In this view, there's actually accommodation for 3 hotels if there was a desire for that. There's a fishing facility tournament fishing along the Black Warrior there, and also tournament pickleball and tennis facility as future phases. So the area is well activated and touches a lot of different interests and age groups. So with that, I appreciate your time.
That's our best job at a summary. We need all of 30 minutes to go through it. Y'all get a sense of how big it is and what we're dealing with. And I think the idea is not to explain this park to death, but it's to experience it eventually and for it to change your city. And I think there's enough ideas represented from the front door all the way in to the wetlands that Ryan was explaining that get us very excited about this park. And I hope that's evidence of here tonight. So thank you for inviting us to come present. And with that, I'll turn it back over to y'all.
Thank you so much. It's really neat to see everything come to life and having this park with inside a park. You can actually see that this is not all sports driven. There's so much for families to do there. And I think that's something that even the naysayers can probably get behind, that they can look at and know that there's a lot of thought that's been put into this, and the city is trying to do everything we can to enhance our quality of life for our residents. So thank y'all for being here. Y'all have anything else you want to add? Anybody from council?
Question,
Mayor?
The Warrior Baseball Park, will that be a kind of a second phase? That'll be later? Not much was said about that in particular. I just want
Yes, sir. On the master plan, it obviously that would be a phase after the tournament park construction. They are kind of married together a little bit. One of the things I know we talked about early on with the city subcommittee that was pointed in the staff is if you were to renovate Warrior Park, you have to have somewhere. I think the league was almost 1,000 kids last year, so they would have to have somewhere to go. So the natural progression would be, if this facility came online first, there may be a year or so that they would have to transition and play there until the Warrior Park could be reconstructed. But at that time, at that point, the community could bring 15 fields to bear for whatever they chose to. So,
thank you.
Thank you, Frank. Item 6 is approval of the agenda. Is there a member of council that would like to move to approve the agenda as printed?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Councilwoman Bobo, second by Councilman Washington. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, Ms. Webb.
Voting with Pro Tem Bobo.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. Item 7 is visitors to address the council. We have one visitor signed up to speak tonight. It is Miss Kellen McQueen. It's in opposition to annexation. Ms. McQueen, if you would, please come to the podium. State your name and address for the record.
My name is Kellen McQueen. I reside at 4648 Cross Hill Lane. So y'all just bear with me. I don't do this. All right. So residents of Shirley Farms, spoke before the council previously in opposition of this annexation and rezoning. And I felt as a resident of Highland Park, it was really important for me to also advocate against this. This is not just an issue for one subdivision. This is actually an issue for an entire community. We've been provided with very limited information regarding this, other than the purpose being that it's to complement the water park. To what extent, we don't know. And so we need more information on this before this petition to annex and rezone is continued out and progress further. There's the general concern about the depreciation of home values and constant noise disturbances during the operation of the water park, if that's what this is going to be. And then also, I don't know if this is relevant, but when I contacted ALDOT, they said that there was not a traffic study on Highway 82 in the general vicinity of where the proposed water park would be. And so a concern is that Harper Road would be possibly used as the access road for the water park. So that's worrisome because, you know, the question is, can Harper Road even handle the traffic that it has now? So if it is used as an access road, has a traffic study been done? And if it has the city of Northport made it, made it available for the public? Because I've had difficulty locating that. So y'all might have done it, I just can't find it. And I think that would be helpful because I drive on that road every day. And I do want to touch on, my child has given names to some of the horses. She thinks they're hers. So I'm really afraid that if y'all do commercialize this property, you're also going to impact the farms surrounding that property. And that will further, you know, disturb a community. Because I think we're all neighbors. If one neighbor is impacted, the whole community is impacted. So thank y'all so much.
Thank you, Ms. McQueen. Item 8A1 is a second reading of an ordinance amending Chapter 2 related to employee incentive pay for utilities. Mr. Webb.
Yes, the shift differential incentive pay is limited to $1 per qualifying hour. It is also limited to employees assigned to work rotating shifts in the utilities department. The item's been approved by the administrative committee and it's ready for vote.
Okay. Is there a member of council that would like to move to adopt this ordinance?
So moved.
That's a motion by Councilman Wiggins, second by Councilwoman Bobo. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, Ms. Webb.
Voting with Pro Tem Bobo.
Yes?
Yes. Yes.
Yes. Item 9A1 is a first reading adopting the 2024 General Fund Capital Budget. Mr. McGee.
Yes, Mr. President. This is for our general fund capital budget for the fiscal year 2024. We'll look at water and sewer capital budget at a later time, but it's just under $2.5 million, and it was approved at the November Finance Committee meeting.
Okay. Is there a member of council that would like to offer this for first reading?
I'll offer it.
It's offered by Councilwoman Bobo. 9A2 is a first reading of an ordinance for annexation of approximately 8.11 acres located at 13582 Mount Olive Road with the original zoning of RS1. Ms. Ram.
Yes, sir. This item comes with a favorable recommendation from the Planning Commission. There will be a public hearing and second reading at one of your January meetings. That date's yet to be determined.
Okay. Is there a member of council that would like to offer this for first reading?
So offered.
That is offered by Councilman Wiggins. 9B1 is a resolution awarding bid file 23-15 for one gooseneck trailer. Ms. Starnes.
Yes, Mr. President, this is monies that was awarded through a grant for ADM for recycling.
Okay. A member of council that would like to move to approve this resolution awarding bid file 23-15 to Pro Trainer for one gooseneck trailer in the amount of $34,165.
So moved. Second.
It's a motion by Councilman Wiggins, second by Councilman Washington. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, Ms. Webb.
Voting with Pro Tem Bobo.
Yes?
Yes. Yes.
Yes. Item 9B2 is a resolution awarding bid file 23-16 for as-needed drainage pipe rehab. Ms. Starnes.
Yes, Mr. President, Video Industrial Services was the lowest and only bidder for this. This is only for emergency purchases on an as-needed basis for storm sewer.
Okay. A member of council that would like to move to adopt this resolution.
So moved.
Second. Motion by Councilwoman Bobo, second by Councilman Wiggins. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, Ms. Webb.
Voting with Pro Tem Bobo.
Yes?
Yes. Yes.
Yes. 9B3 is a resolution authorizing the city administrator to execute an agreement with Ellis Architects Incorporated for interior furnishing services related to the Public Works Building addition. Ms. Tubbs.
Yes, this is our FF&E items for the Public Works building, the new Public Works building.
Okay. Is there a member of council that would like to move to adopt this resolution?
So moved.
Motion by Councilwoman Bobo. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Wiggins. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, Ms. Webb.
Voting with Pro Tem Bobo.
Yes?
Yes. Yes.
Yes. 9B4 is a resolution authorizing the city administrator to execute an agreement with Sane Associates Incorporated for the development of the Northport Safety Action Plan. Ms. Tubbs.
Yes, this is a grant that we received for Safe Streets for All. This is to engage with Sane Associates. We did an RFP for this to develop our safety action plan.
Okay. Is there a member of council that would like to move to adopt the resolution authorizing the city administrator to execute an agreement with Sain and Associates for the development of the Northport Safety Action Plan?
So moved. Second.
That's a motion by Councilman Wiggins, second by Councilman Washington. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, Ms. Webb.
Voting with Pro Tem Bobo?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. 9B5 is a resolution authorizing the city administrator to execute Amendment Number 1 to the Master Services Agreement with TTL Incorporated for the Sports and Recreation Complex at Northport Shore. Ms. Tubbs.
Yes, as y'all have seen tonight, pre-design is complete, and we would like to move on to final design, bid services, and construction services, and those items be included in this amendment.
I like construction services.
We do too.
Is there a member of council that would like to move to adopt this resolution?
So moved.
Second.
That's a motion by Councilwoman Bobo, second by Councilman Wiggins. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, Ms. Webb.
Voting with Pro Tem Bobo?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. 9C is our consent agenda. Pretty lengthy tonight. This ranges from minutes, bill listings, and PO requisitions. Is there a member of council that would like to move to approve the consent agenda as printed?
So moved.
It's a motion by Councilman Wiggins, second by Councilman Washington. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, Ms. Webb.
Voting with Pro Tem Bobo?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. Item 10 is reports to special committees of council. If there's a member of council that would like to give an update from their respective committee. Okay. Item 11 is public hearings. We have none. Item 12 is city administrator's business. Ms. Webb.
Yes, sir. I have two items tonight. One is our holiday open house. Many of you that are visiting here with us tonight can see our work in progress for the holiday open house, which will be December the 14th from 5 to 8 p.m. It'll be open to the public, and we want to thank our presenting sponsor, TTL, for helping us get this going. As part of our holiday open house and our efforts to give back to the community, we are accepting Toys for Tots donations up until December the 13th. So there are various boxes throughout city facilities that we can accept new and unwrapped toys.
Okay. Anything else?
That is it. Thank you.
All right. Item 13 is departmental business. We have none. Item 14 is mayor and council members' business. We will start with Mayor Hinton.
Thank you, Mr. President. Several months ago, former Mayor Harvey Fretwell said to me, "I hope Northport can find a location for a senior adult center. Our seniors need a place to go and socialize together." Years ago, we thought we had secured the old armory for that purpose, but it didn't work out. Excuse me. Mr. Fretwell is absolutely correct. The council, Ms. Webb, and I have all felt the need for such a center. I envision this as a place where seniors can go and have a free or reduced meal together, perhaps 1 or 2 days a week. Enjoy fellowship, play dominoes, card games, or engage in other activities that they choose, and or participate in wellness activities, mental health classes, which would include information that helps one cope with hopelessness, loneliness, who to call when help is needed, and other such concerns. This center would help seniors cope with life situations and avoid catastrophic events that we have recently seen in our city. We're fortunate to have many senior citizens in Northport. A location of this type would boost our care and concern for them and make life better for everyone. Department on Aging and Focus would probably be more than willing to help should we follow through with our concerns in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Hinton. District 1, Pro Tem Bobo.
Administrator Webb and Mayor Hinton hit everything that I was going to say, except we do have an updated trash pickup on the website for the holidays. But yes, Toys for Tots, December 14th open house, and today is Giving Tuesday. So one of the things closest to my heart is Focus 50 Plus, and I would encourage everyone to consider giving to them because of everything they partner with us on in our community.
Okay, anything else?
No.
All right, District 2, Councilman Washington.
Just want to say, everybody get a chance, check on your people during the holidays. This the time of the year when a lot of family members has been lost and concerned. So just get a chance, give somebody a call and check on them and take them something to eat, or just make sure they're good for the holidays. Thank you.
Okay. And District 3, Councilman Wiggins.
I just wanted to briefly say that I had a couple of issues that I reached out to city staff to address. They're fairly minor, but I do appreciate them being addressed. I had somebody reach out to me, a citizen who had made a request, and she said, just thank you for, it was regarding moving a sign, but was obstructing a view from a intersection. But I appreciate the work by city staff to address that quickly.
Okay. Anything else?
No.
The only thing I have tonight is just to say roll tide. And with that said, item 15 is adjournment. Is there a member of council that would like to move to adjourn this meeting?
Second.
Motion by Councilwoman Bobo, second by Councilman Washington. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. We are adjourned. Thank you for coming.
Didn't he?